Grok 4.5 scored 1440 on creative writing, and Fable 5 has 0 comparable numbers at all. That gap is way more interesting than it sounds, and it's really a data story, not a performance story. Both Fable 5 and Grok 4.5 dropped recently, and people are already arguing about which one tells a better story. So I went through 8 sources and compared them across 5 real tests. No vendor money, no spin, just what the evidence actually says. Honestly, the results surprised me, and the scoreboard at the end might make you question whether either of these is actually ready to deliver the role-playing experience you're expecting. Alright, so this one's for you if you're trying to pick the right AI model for narrative-driven games or interactive storytelling, because pick wrong and you get flat characters, choices that don't matter, and a world that feels like cardboard, and the model underneath it drives that gap. Test 1. Narrative depth and character development. Imagine you're 10 hours into a game and every character sounds the same, every moral choice feels hollow, and the story never goes anywhere dark or interesting. Bad narrative depth costs you time and immersion you can't get back, and that's way harder to recover from than a bad price tag. I looked at everything I could find here, and honestly, the data is almost nothing. Fable 5 has blog posts claiming it tackles memory, free will, and manufactured reality, but there's no number attached to any of that. And Grok 4.5 at least has a community-reported creative writing ELO of 1440, though that's lower than its coding score of 1521, which is pretty interesting and not in a good way. I was expecting at least one of them to have some kind of head-to-head narrative benchmark, and I came up with basically nothing comparable, so no winner here. Fable 5 has ambition on paper. Grok 4.5 has a score, but it's not a strong one, so that's a tie, and the running tally is Fable 5 0. Grok 4.5 0, 1 test tied. Test 2, player choice impact. You know that feeling when you pick a dialogue option that seems huge, and then absolutely nothing changes? If choices don't actually branch the story, the whole game collapses into an illusion, and players feel it immediately even if they can't name exactly why. What surprised me here is just how empty the research is. I went through every source I could find, and there's no evidence at all showing how either Fable 5 or Grok 4.5 handles choice-driven story divergence. Not a single sourced example of user choices changing narrative outcomes for either model. And the scorecards on screen right now say the same thing. No data. I was expecting community playtests, some kind of anecdote, anything, and I came up with a complete blank for both. So this is another tie. Nobody's measured it yet, and we're now 2 tests tied. Test 3, world building and lore. When world building breaks down, you get a game that feels like a stage set. Pretty from the front, but empty behind every door, and you ask about the history of a place and get nothing. Or worse, something contradictory, which kills immersion faster than bad graphics ever could. Okay, so this one actually has a little something. Community reports show Fable 5 building full 3D worlds from a single prompt, which is pretty cool and is the most concrete capability claim I found anywhere in this comparison. But I want to be honest, that's anecdotal, not a standardized benchmark, and Grok 4.5 has 0 public evidence of world generation at all. I was expecting this to be the test where Fable 5 finally pulled ahead because the world-building anecdotes are genuinely interesting, but without a real benchmark to compare against Grok 4.5, I can't call it a win. So tied again, and that's Fable 5 0. Grok 4.5 0, 3 tests tied now. Test 4, combat versus dialogue. Balance. Get this wrong and you end up with a game that's either a walking simulator with no stakes or a button masher with no soul, and players who want to talk their way through problems get locked into fights, while players who want action get stuck reading walls of text. So here's what I found, and it's kind of a weird one. This dimension is really a game design metric, not an AI benchmark, and neither Fable 5 nor Grok 4.5 has any data on it in the context of large language models, so what you see on screen right now is not applicable for both, and that's the honest answer. Honestly, I was expecting to skip this test, and that's basically what happened, because it's a game design question, not a model capability question, so there's nothing to score. Another tie by default, which puts us at Fable 5-0 wins, Grok 4.50 wins, and 4 tests tied going into the last one. Test 5, replayability and branching paths. This one stings when it goes wrong because you finish a game, think about going back, and realize there's nothing new to find. Every path leads to the same ending, the same scenes, the same lines. And a game with no real branches is basically a movie you have to click through. I was really hoping to find something here, some community experiment, a developer statement, anything about how many distinct story paths either model can generate, and I came up empty. No source data on branching narrative variety for Fable 5. No source data for Grok 4.5 either, and the scorecards are blank across the board. I was expecting at least one of these models to have some kind of branching path demo out in the wild, and every test told the same story. No comparable data, no winner, and that's the fifth tie, so the final running score is Fable 5-0, Grok 4.50, all 5 tests tied. So where does Fable 5 actually pull ahead? Two things: it's the only one with any narrative ambition on record, with blog posts specifically mentioning memory, free will, and manufactured reality as themes, and community examples show it generating full 3D worlds from a single prompt, which is the most concrete capability either model showed in this whole comparison. Grok 4.5 wins on one thing: it has actual numbers. A community-reported creative writing allo of 1440 gives you a real baseline to work with, even if it's not a great score, and a coding allo of 1521 suggests strong technical reasoning underneath, which could matter if you're building complex narrative logic into a game system. I was expecting a clear winner, and I got 5 ties and almost no data. 0 verified head-to-head scores. So the decision rule is pretty simple. If you want narrative ambition and world building from a prompt, go Fable 5, and if you need a measurable baseline and technical reasoning you can actually test, go Grok 4.5. 5 tests, 0 winners, pick based on what you can verify.